What is pediatric scoliosis? Pediatric scoliosis is a spinal deformity that appears in children and adolescents, characterized by an abnormal lateral curvature. Although it often goes unnoticed in its early stages, its effects can be critical, impacting posture, mobility, and in severe cases, compromising lung and heart function. In Peru, there are hundreds of pediatric cases of idiopathic scoliosis, often of congenital origin, where timely surgical intervention at the earliest age will improve quality of life and reduce health risks for the child or adolescent throughout their life.
Miguel Erde, MD, Traumatologist CMP, 011604.
These deformities, if not treated in time, keep increasing. So the curve becomes larger with a hump or a protrusion on the back, which is quite uncomfortable for managing the child, so it needs to be corrected. Why during adolescence or youth? Because that's when the spine is still flexible and can be modified. We currently have over 90 children and adolescents waiting. We should operate on one per week, meaning we would perform 52 surgeries a year. The reality of public health in Peru. In Peru, unfortunately, the public health system lacks the necessary technological equipment to perform corrective scoliosis surgeries in children. This situation forces the families of patients to rent specialized medical equipment, with costs exceeding $2,000, an unattainable and even unrealistic amount for many low-income families. As a result, thousands of children are currently waiting to gather the necessary funds to access this equipment, prolonging their suffering and putting their development and well-being at risk. In the spinal canal where the spinal cord runs, especially in the cervical, thoracic, and the beginning of the lumbar region, the space is narrow where we work. This is what we call pedicles, which is the area where we insert the screws, and it is a tight spot. So what does the neurophysiological monitor do? It controls all the electrical activity of the spinal cord completely. Electrodes are placed on the patient from head to feet, connected in groups that end up in a computer controlled by a neurophysiologist. The neurophysiologist monitors it so that when we insert the screws, we are working in a very narrow space and do not enter the canal and damage the spinal cord or any nerves. We insert screws one by one on the right and left sides, and the physiologist with the device tells us whether to continue or not. If we accidentally enter the canal, the system will say, retrace, reposition to avoid harming the patient. 1,500 patients are born with spinal deformities. If we were to operate on 30 per year, Social Security would operate on another 30. And in the private sector, due to the cost of the procedure, about 40 more would be operated on. Where is the rest of the patients? What happens to the remaining patients with all these deformities? We should try to absorb this and help them. In the past, the Estenar test was used, which involved placing screws along the spine and before suturing the patient, waking them with the spine open and asking the infant patient to move their feet. If they could move their feet or toes, the screws were correctly placed. The patient would then be put back to sleep and the suturing would be completed. However, if there was any alteration, we had to dismantle everything we had done and start over. The association. In response to this critical situation at the Children's Hospital, where even basic supplies like alcohol, gauze, and titanium surgical screws are lacking, low-income families are forced to rent expensive surgical support equipment, costs that are unaffordable for many. In response, the Asociación Niños Peruanos was formed by concerned Peruvians and Americans. The goal is to raise 60,000 euros to acquire the necessary equipment abroad and donate it to the hospital, enabling the most vulnerable children to access surgeries free of charge. Pedro Cordano, a Peruvian resident in Boston, Massachusetts, USA. His daughter, Fabiola Cordano, was deeply concerned about children with this severe condition. After her passing at a young age, Cordano, along with a group of well-meaning individuals, decided to create the Asociación Niños Peruanos to help hundreds of children with scoliosis in Peru. Pedro Cordano, president of the Asociación Niños Peruanos, surgery is the only solution to solve this problem. It is a utopia for poor people, as public health in Peru lacks the necessary equipment. That's why the Peruvian Children's Association was created to work together with the Hospital del Niño to acquire and donate this equipment for those who cannot afford it, so that thousands of children on the waiting list can have their surgeries. I ask you to read on our website the testimonials from people who know those involved in this project, so you can have an exact idea of what we want and how we will do it. She is Bertha Smith, founder of the Volunteer Association of the National Institute of Child Health. She runs the Divino Niño shelter, where she provides free temporary lodging and meals to low-income mothers who travel from rural areas of the country to care for their young children at the Children's Hospital. The shelter has been established for 8 years, and over time, we have supported hundreds of families with hospitalized or outpatient patients. Everything is completely free. We provide accommodation, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. All this is thanks to activities we carry out. We have a capacity of 40 people. All the people who come are from outside the city. The children show a very happy face once their deformities are corrected and they can be managed better. How can I help? To help this cause, you can go directly to the website www.perukidsaid.com and go to the Donate Now section, where you can donate in Peruvian soles or US dollars via credit or debit card. You can also do so through the bank account, Banco de Crédito del Perú, soles account 194-151-96089, dollars account 194-192181811. Thank you. On behalf of Peruvian children with scoliosis, we thank you for reviewing this informational material. You can also make a difference. Share this video on your social media. Help us help others. Asociación Niños Peruanos.